It was already a lost cause. We pass on to the next world. This time, it's midsummer. All the inhabitants of this world stare up at the sky in unison. The heat is impressive in a way that I've never before experienced. Everything in sight seems to be glazed and distorted by the air around it. Also, what requires mentioning. Oh, what? Yeah. The sky. Countless rockets are fired up into the cloudless azure sky, one after the other. Is it, though? A bit terrifying if you ask me. What if the fucking shrapnel from the rocket falls down on us? Kana gasps in awe as she gazes up at the midsummer sky. It also explains why it's so hot. Yeah, it's really damn noisy here. It's not just one or two. There are dozens, possibly even hundreds decorating the sky. When they fly and fly further up into the atmosphere, thin air around them oscillates, producing an ear-splitting sound. I wonder if it has to do with the gas the rockets are emitting, but the air here is so damn humid and stifling. This isn't exactly the most pleasant of places to be. Plus every single one of the rockets is losing control, spiraling down to the ground and exploding in a burst of light before they can even reach the stratosphere. The wreckage of those exploded rockets then rain down incessantly upon the ground, creating an ever-growing mountain of scrap metal. That's what I'm... like I said, what if one of them hits out? What if them hits us? The ground is a disastrous sight. The civilian town is completely in ruins. This scorching hot world is approaching its end. What I say, Kana's dead now. is clearly the world has been destroyed because one of them refused to sacrifice themselves for the god. Right? Haku? A tiny rocket fragment falls down from the sky and dings Kana on the head. You okay? A little tech is just one piece of scrap falling in the wrong place for all of us to get seriously hurt. Asking Kana to show me where she'd gotten hit, I then healed the small bump on her head using Shinku's magic. No problem. That reminds me. I brought a few things that might come in handy right about now. Hold on a sec. You fucking brought hard hats. Oh, never mind. What are these? Oh, they're umbrellas. Yeah, because that's gonna stop a falling piece of metal. I produced 3 Japanese umbrellas from the rucksack on my back. Made from steel plates. These umbrellas saved us last year when we passed through a world where there was a constant torrential downpour of acid rain. Oh, it's made of metal. That would explain it. So these are the things that were heavy. I was considering leaving these behind, but I figured I'd take them just in case. Boy, was that a wise decision. Here, these umbrellas should shield you from any scrap metal. They're a little heavy, so just take Just try to make do. I pass one to Ren, Haku, and Kana in turn. Okay, well, it's definitely going to be heavy for Ren. But why is Ren carrying one when Haku is already carrying one? Considering that Ren has to be right next to Haku at all times, I don't think she needs one. I don't think she needs an umbrella. Something wrong?
これはこの手助けは規則違反にはならないんですか?
True. I guess it would sort of be in a grey area. But Shigure had used these the year prior to protect those in the ritual from a sudden downpour of acid rain. Being witness to that myself, it does create a bit of confusion in my mind about what is permissible and what isn't. Yeah, and just like everything else, he just brushes it off and doesn't question it because he doesn't care. However, I'm entirely comfortable with mimicking whatever something that Shigure has done previous years without incident. We trust Shigure's judgment, then this should fall under what is acceptable. What's acceptable?
管理人さんを信頼するなら
Right. Though I guess it is a bit unfair of me to shift any potential blame onto him.
わかりました
He then nods and spreads the umbrella.
あれと言いますか3本だけですかユマさんは
I'll be fine. As long as I keep my wits about me, I could dodge just about anything that comes at me. Okay, listen, Yuma, you gave Kana an umbrella. She's gonna hold you, so that you can be under her umbrella. Grab onto you, I mean. We walk on screws and tiny rocket parts, pelting the ground around us. Now then, where is the gate leading us to the next world? I search around for signs of the gate, light of the lantern, which has started to flicker for guidance. Inside the lantern sits the golden feather, the feather of God that appears by Haku's pillow side. I know, someone probably pissed on the feather and pranked Haku, and now she thinks she's going to be sacrificed. It will lead us to the next gate. The children of this world would die in the skies. I look up. Amid the mountain of junk piled upon the road, there's an old man who mutters to himself and gazes up at the sky with a grief-stricken expression. This world will end soon. Once it was abundant with the blessing of nature, but we have destroyed and contaminated it by our greed. Wow, human, God damn it, what is it? Fucking, why am I blanking on the word? Hubris. There you go. The hubris of man. My gaze wanders, and I spot people all over the place, standing stock still and staring up at the sky. All of them are adults. I see not a single child among them. I know they probably got hit on the head and, you know, killed them. They got hit in the soft spot of their head. Shrapnel from the rockets continued to rain down from above. The adults don't even attempt to avoid the falling fragments. They just keep looking up at the sky. Even a single one of these rockets carrying the special children who can fly reaches space, then perhaps our species will have a future. So they're actively killing children for the potential that one of them will survive and not die in a horrific explosion. If none of them can voyage to the stars, if none of them can find a habitable planet out there, then our extinction is surely only a matter of time. The adults look up at the sky from a crossroads surrounded by piles upon piles of wreckage, towering too high for any car to pass through. A huge chunk of debris from an exploded rocket then drops down and completely crushes the cluster of adults in the blink of an eye. Right. They're just killing people now. They're just killing off people. Our children will die in the skies and their bodies will kill all of us still standing on the ground. All of them. Their eyes are too focused on the sky to notice what's happening at their feet. These people are not yet ready to fly through the skies. Are you alright, Haku? You're not hurt, are you?
大丈夫です。ここはひどく空気が悪いですね。むせ返るようです。
Yeah, it makes sense considering that dead children bits are falling down from the sky.
それに騒音で耳がどうにかなってしまいそう。今の体には少しばかり応えます。
Well, you know, considering you already told us you're losing hearing in your ears, we're just speeding up the process, you know. She offers a feeble smile and continues, and countless metal fragments that begin to rain down from above. One of them bounces off the ground at an angle that springs right toward Haku. Look out! Just in the nick of time, Ren leaps in front of her mother to shield her as the blunt shot of iron grazes her forehead. This is what you wanted, Haku.
大丈夫ですか？大変です。血が出ていますよ。どうかしましたか？何かあったのですか？
Unaware of the situation, Haku merely waves her now unheld hand in the air. Ren immediately stands back to her feet and grips her mother's hand tightly once more. Small beads of sweat surface on her small face, twisted in anguish.
ユマさん、レンちゃんの傷を見てあげるということも許されないのでしょうか？この傘を貸してあげることが大丈夫なら、それくらいなら大丈夫なんじゃないですか？それも規則違反になってしまうのでしょうか？傘は大丈夫で手当はダメ。違いが、私にはその違いがわかりませんよ、ユーマさん。
Listen, alright, Kana. Clearly, you're the only one questioning this shit. Shigure and Yuma didn't bother. I lightly shake my head. To be honest, I know exactly where the line is drawn on acceptable and non-acceptable conduct. Even when I try to recall all of what Shigure did last year, I can't remember whether or not he treated any wounds. All I know is that I should try to limit my interference as much as possible. We'll just have to keep going. That's all we can do right now.
ユーマさん、ランタンの光が。
I look, and then notice it. The lantern's light is narrowed to a straight line. It points a few hundred yards ahead to a manhole that is, with its cover slightly ajar.
もしかすると、あそこが次の扉ということなんでしょうか？
Yeah, chances are it is. Just then, a huge boom roars as the largest rocket in the sky explodes. That had 2 children in it. Come on, can't stay here any longer. We leave the midsummer world in a hurry. Our journey continues. They ran out of backgrounds. We've traversed through spring, a world in which a giant's footsteps left the splendor of spring in its wake. We've traversed through summer, a world in which children are shot into the sky in rockets in the hopes that they'll fly to space. And after those two comes fall, autumn. A world in which apparitions struggle to find a way to protect and extend the life of the giant withering tree of life, which stands at the center of their world and bestows vitality upon all life existing therein. Then winter. A world in which humans have long since gone extinct, only to be replaced with a hyper-intelligent cat society boasting a vast framework of knowledge and its unique culture. In this Arctic world, we managed to avoid the claws of the bloodthirsty felines. What the fuck? Yeah, I'm not surprised I didn't have a background for that one. We keep trekking, inching closer and closer to the location which God has instructed Haku to go to. We've already been traveling for more than a whole day, yet our destination is still far off. As we continue walking on still another linear path that connects one world to another eventually, Haku mentions again that she's feeling tired, so we decide to stop for a brief break. An awkward silence descends as Kana and Haku remember their yet unresolved quarrel from our prior break. The air is thick with tension. I wouldn't go so far as to call it oppressive, but it's more than clear that there are still hard feelings lingering between them. Hey, Ren, I've got an emergency can of mackerel. I got an emergency can of mackerel here. Want it? I pull the can from my sack and pass it to Ren, who seems visibly flustered from being stuck between the two opposing forces of tension. This might be the first time she's ever seen canned food. She rolls the little can around curiously in her palm. Oh, and I've got some canned peaches with me too. I like those better than mackerel. I want it instead. Peaches, they're a fruit, and they're sweet and delicious. She nods with vigor. Alright, hold on a sec. They should be right around here. Ah, there they are. Great. I pass her the can after fishing it out. Huh? She pushes the can back toward me. I guess what she means to say is, please open it. So I pull the tab on the top and do so. Be careful so it doesn't spill out. I pass her the can along with a small plastic fork. I assumed she would eat it herself, but she instead runs over to Haku with the can in hand. She then pushes the can into her mother's hand as she sits there in silence.
Ren?
She pushes the can toward Haku. Eat, she seems to be saying.
これは
Haku's nose twitches. These must be peaches, she decides, weakly smiling.
ありがとう、レン。 一緒に食べましょうか。
Haku uses her hand in her absence of vision to feel for Ren's head. When she finds it, she strokes it gently. After that, the two of them begin to eat the peaches together.
ユマさん、
Kana then whispers to me in a hushed tone. Yeah?
ユマさんはこの儀式についてどう思われますか？
I don't think he's thought about it. You want to know what my opinion is?
はい、それが本当にどうしても必要なことだとそう思いますか？ユマさんも最果ての古書店に選ばれた命を差し出さなければその世界は消えてしまうという理不尽を信じているんですか？
Well, I close my eyes. My true, honest feelings on the matter, those would be, if I'm being perfectly honest, I don't buy into it one bit. Then why don't you defend Kana? Why didn't you defend Kana when she pointed out all the contradictions? The world will be destroyed, annihilated at the hand of a vengeful god. I just can't see that happening. The world probably wouldn't end. So on that point, I agree with you. Of course it wouldn't. There's simply no way their world would just blink out of existence. Especially not because of a single life and the defiance of this so-called god's will. It simply isn't an egregious enough act to warrant a retaliation of wiping out everything that exists within the vast expanse of space and time. Yeah, at least God in the Christian Bible destroyed the whole earth because all of the humans were sinful. I don't have the patience of mind right now to express those thoughts in words, but I have no doubt they're true. God is not a malevolent being by any means. The consciousness that dwelled in that space was one which loved humans above all else. Above all else. You didn't hear that. However, that was before this supposed error infected the Great Library and turned everything topsy-turvy. That's why this discussion must now be treaded carefully. Unsincerity and unclarity. That's what this all boils down to.
同じ意見だけど、何ですか？
Right. A nod. Not Suzu, nor I, nor Haku have ever witnessed a world that have ever witnessed a world that punishment enacted upon that had punishment enacted upon whatever. Maybe due in part to the fact that Suzu and I have never managed to successfully complete a job in these worlds. Success is defined as us delivering somebody whose life was chosen by the Great Library of the Beyond to a safe location. That entails unequivocally defying the library's will. Since we've never been able to accomplish that, for better or for worse, we have never seen or experienced the world being wiped out. So that's why, although I don't necessarily share Haku's fear and worry about these what-if scenarios, I can understand why she feels that way. Well, yeah, that's because no one's tried to rebel. Either way, the fact remains that Haku is strongly convinced that there's a real possibility her world may be destroyed. And no matter how strongly we believe in the opposite, her fears won't subside. No matter how much I disapprove of this ritual, I have no tangible proof to offer to Haku that would convince that her world won't be wiped. I mean, you can. by healing Ren. If you break the rules and nothing happens, then if you don't sacrifice Haku, nothing will happen. Easy. Nobody has the right to arbitrarily refute her world's belief system for their own self-satisfaction, especially not when there's no conclusive evidence on either side. I don't know. You've been helping Ren out an awful lot, haven't you? Even if no sacrifice is presented, the world won't be destroyed. That's what I believe. But it's nothing more than blind faith, and I won't accept that, and I accept that.
でも見てください。レンちゃん、あんなに傷だらけになって頑張ってそうまでしてお母さんとお別れしなきゃいけないんですよね。私うまく言葉にできませんけど、でも本当にこんなことが必要なんですかって、そう思ってしまうんです。ユウマさんだってそうは思いませんか？世界は消えたりなんかしない。そんな予想を持っているユウマさんには同調してほしいとまでは言いませんけど、理解はしてくれたりしませんか
？I shake my head. I don't know.
そうってわからないって。
There are a myriad of different worlds in existence, and I just can't expect to be able to comprehend the complex rules and laws which govern each individual one of them. You get what I mean, right? As foreigners, we don't have the right to barge in wholeheartedly and tell their people that this particular belief or custom is important or stupid or right or wrong. Look, Kana, I understand why you're upset, but as they say, when in Rome, how did that idiom go again?
郷に行っては郷に従え。
Yeah, and guess what happened to the Romans? They got wiped the fuck out. Yeah, thanks.
それじゃ
What he's saying is, don't think about it.
決められたことに逆らうのはただそれだけで罪なんですか？
Yes. Philosophy 101. Welcome to Philosophy 101. What do you mean?
誰かが決めたルールに従わないということはそれだけで罪悪なのですか？
Hold on a second. Where are you getting that from? No, Yuma, that is what you're saying.
ユウマさんは逃がし屋さんでしょ。それならこんな儀式を作った何もかもから意地悪な神様からこの世界のすべての束縛からハクさんとレンちゃんを逃がしてあげてくださいよ。
Right. I already said I...
お願いしますユウマさん。2人がどう思っているとか思っていないとかそんなのは関係なく2人が別れたりしなくてもいいようにしてください。身勝手なこと言ってるのは十分承知です。部外者の私が何をしたようなこと言ってるんだよと怒られたって仕方ありません。でもそれでも私は2人を逃がしてあげてほしいんです。自由にさせてあげてほしいんです。そして2人を幸せにしてくださいよユウマさん。
He grabs my hands, pleading, I'll pay the money somehow if you need it. If I could do that, I would. I would save Haku. I wouldn't allow Ren to lose her mother. I would deliver them somewhere safe, to the great library of the beyond, and its will have no influence. If all of that were possible, I would do it in a heartbeat. I mean, considering that Earth doesn't require a human sacrifice every year, I would assume that would be a safe place. But I can't. I can never do something that selfish. Why not? Liberators are only allowed to undertake a request if the client themselves believe, if the client themselves wishes to be free. Perhaps that's what you'd call our creed, or perhaps we're just fussy like that, but that's the rule we operate by. No, I think you're just being lazy. Haku wishes to offer up her life. She hasn't the slightest intention of running away. Yeah, because her actions are dictated by fear. What do you not get by that, Yuma? This is not her will. She does not want to die. She's forcing herself to accept it. If someone doesn't want to be saved, then it's not our place to act against their interests and arbitrarily force our version of happiness upon them. Bro, this guy took one class of Philosophy 101 and believed and just took every word, absorbed every word and didn't think about it for a second. I could make the suggestion to Haku and try to convince her, sure, but there's no doubt in my mind that she'd refuse firmly and resolutely, and nothing I could say would convince her otherwise. So then, don't try to convince her. I've had my mouse over the bottom right the entire time. Forcing somebody to go somewhere against their will, that's kidnapping, plain and simple. Yeah, it's better than them dying. Poking my nose into someone else's business.
ハクさんが望んでいないから、ユーマさんたちは動けない。
Frankly speaking, forcing someone to do something isn't productive. All you're doing is forcing your values down their throat. Yes, because my values of killing people is not a good thing. It's bad to force that value down someone's throat. Maybe you shouldn't kill yourself. Actually, I can't say that because I'm forcing my values down their throat. I know I've already said it, but we don't work against the client's interest. Acting purely for the sake of self-satisfaction goes against everything we stand for. Not that it actually matters, since this falls under my duty as the acting manager. Got nothing to do with my job as a liberator. I know it frustrates you. Frustrates me too. Not enough, clearly. It's disheartening that they don't want my help, and thus I can do nothing to save them, because you haven't tried to. This is what Haku wants. Clearly not. Then all I can do is shut my mouth and respect her wishes. Yuma, she clearly doesn't want it. Everything she says is fucking copium, alright? Ren being strong, yeah, sure, I guess. But that doesn't change the fact that she's gonna have to witness her mom die right in front of her. Kana. I peer at her face and say her name as she hangs her head in resignation. Are you okay? I know you're spewing a lot of bullshit, Yuma. Once again, Kana seems to be the only rational one in the room.
はい、大丈夫です。
She nods her head and takes a deep breath. Then she lets out a great sigh.
違います。
Huh?
はい、今のは違います。忘れてください。
Wrong about what? What do I need to pretend I didn't hear?
はい、少しだけ気持ちが高ぶってしまっていたというか、 ちょっと混乱してしまっていました。でももう大丈夫です。落ち着きました。
She expels a shallow sigh, as if to indicate that she's conceded and accepts that things won't go the way she wants them to.
もう何でもありません。だから今の話は忘れてください。
You want me to forget everything?
もういいんです。
Yeah, because she realizes that it doesn't matter. Anything Kana says to you, you'll just reject it. She expels another weak sigh, seemingly in an attempt to rid her mind of all negative emotions.
と、そういうわけで、私はこのサバ缶をいただきますね。ちょうど小腹が空いていたんです。
I don't believe her. No shit. It feels as though she dragged me into some game, forcing me to then participate against her, only to then quit midway through and pretend that none of it ever mattered. Can't accept this. Why not? You've accepted the fact that Haku's gonna die and you're not gonna do anything about it. But part of me also feels that perhaps leaving these questions and these doubts unanswered and unresolved is for the best. I mean, clearly you've done that already before with this fucking with the culture of this world. Maybe Kana was right and she just let her emotions get the better of her. So she's fine now. The issue is settled and the conversation is over. Yeah, but that's not how emotions work. She can't just get rid of them. That's not how that's fucking bipolar. That's that. Hey, Kana.
Hi?
If you take that mackerel, then I won't have anything to eat. Apologies if that sounds stingy.
それでは一緒にサバ缶食べますか?
Or we each eat... What? We each eat half or something?
そうなります。
Nah, I'd rather not.
どうしてですか?
He stares at me blankly.
お腹空きませんか?
Well, I am a bit.
それなら一緒に食べましょうよ。二人仲良く美味しくいただきましょう。
Yeah, as wonderful as mackerel can be. Together.
何が問題なんですか?
Wouldn't this basically be like...
あれ?
Well, you know, one of those... Whatever you call them. I think back to the day a while ago when Mio moved her belongings to the dorm. We happened to mix up the cans of juice and tea. Mio got upset at me over some indirect kiss or whatever. Yeah, because you were being a child and brought up a fucking dumb shit like that. Of course, she then chucked the can and the bluntest part of it just so happened to hit me in the forehead as if she'd intentionally aimed for it. That can hurt like hell. Just recalling the experience makes the area between my eyebrows feel itchy.
ユモさん、どうかしましたか? そんな渋い顔をして。
I shake my head, telling her it's nothing. Anyway, I just don't think it's okay to share something like this.
よろしくないとは?
Because Yuma's an idiot and a child. Please don't ask questions.
頼まれてもわからないものはわからないんです。意地悪です。どうしてそんなに遠回しなんですか?
She puffs up her cheeks indignantly.
そんな言い方じゃ何もわかりませんよ。
So she says. But not a second later, she lifts her face, as though she's just realized something.
もしかしてそれって。
Hmm?
口 口移しで食べさせてほしいという意思表示でしょうか。
What? What gave you that idea?
もうしょうがないですね、ユウマさん。もしかするとこれが噂の赤ちゃんプレイですか。
I don't recall ever being fed mouth to mouth as a kid, so no. It is not. I don't want to know where you heard anyone talking about something like that.
でも口移すのがサバの缶詰というのも情緒がありませんよね。
What sort of food is supposed to be the ideal then?
帰ったら何か別のものでも試してみます？
I get the odd impression that she's not listening to me. Well, yeah, you weren't listening to her, were you? You were dismissal of everything she brought, every point she brought up, because you aren't allowed to mess with their culture. With a blush on her face, she opens up the canned mackerel.
でも確かにこんなことは言葉にしづらいですよね。遠回しにもなるってものです。
Hold up. You're seriously planning to do what I think you are, right?
私はいつもいつでも何をやるにも本気ですけど。あまり教育に悪いことはやめてくださいね。一応年頃に近い女の子がいるわけですし。
Well, that young lady's gonna be forced to grow up into an adult after you die. Haku smiles at us sweetly. The young lady in question stares at us blankly. How long has she been listening to our conversation? I have no idea how we're meant to explain this. I decided to take out the pocket watch. Why don't we call it a day from here for now?
私たちの世界の時間は今どれくらいになっていますか？
Well, here it feels like we've been walking for the whole day, but home it's been just over an hour. Back home. I know we don't have much time left, but I also don't know how long the rest of our journey will take. In all honesty, it's looking like Haku might have less time than I initially thought. Considering her present condition, though, it probably wouldn't be a good idea to rush our journey. But there in the middle of the chilly road, under the moonless midnight sky, we decide to sit together and take a nap.
おやすみなさい。レン、風邪をひかないようにね。
When I close my eyes, something odd happens. What is the smell? It's soft. Well, softness can't have a smell. Sweet scent slowly wafts toward me. Right. I'm dreaming. This is a dream. I feel as though someone else's dream is slowly sifting into my headspace. Haku's. Ren's. One of them's. I don't know. He brought up soft and sweet smelling. I would assume that it was one of their tails. Haku's dream. Jane Harry? See, I told you. It was Haku's tail, I guess. I don't know. My name is Haku. No, it isn't. It's Yuma. No, it was since I was a child. I'm not... Listen, alright. I'm not gonna put on a female voice. I've never known my mother. She was a very sickly, frail person, and she breathed her last when she gave birth to me.
あんたはまるで疫病神だ。
Foul words were always spouted at me from that woman with her wrinkled witch-like face. She yelled at me, She shouted at me. She snarled at me.
あんたが生まれてこなけりゃあの子は死なずに済んだんだ。
Counterpoint. No. My mother gave her life to bring me into this world. The elderly ladies who adopted me and raised me made a conscious effort to remind me of that fact every waking day of my life, for as long as I could remember.
私はあんなに下ろせと言ったのに。
Counterpoint. She didn't want to.
あんなに無理して産むことはないとそう言ったのに。それなのにどうしてお前みたいな何の役にも立たないような汚い子をあの子は命を捨ててまで産んでしまったのか。
I was born into a family of fox spirits who, for many generations, had practiced the art of divination. However, unlike my mother, I had no talent for the craft.
あの子の代わりにあんたが死んでくれればよかったのに。そうすれば家もしばらくは安泰だったろうに。
My mother had many health problems, but she was still an intelligent, cheerful, beautiful woman. She was loved and adored by all those who knew her. As the one who had indirectly murdered her, I never saw there being any value or purpose to my existence. I constantly questioned why I was alive and living here in the first place. I believe that deep down I held a grudge against my mother. She'd abandoned me, all alone in this big vast world. If only you had died, Mum. You hadn't died, Mum. Maybe then I would at least be somewhat happier than I am now. I hated my mother, whose face I'd never even seen. I cursed her for abandoning me to this world, instead of leaving me here. I would have much rather she'd taken me to the afterlife along with her.
汚らわしい。何もできやしないくせに。あんたはどうして生まれてきたんだ。
So instead of choosing not to follow in her mother's footsteps and abandoning her daughter, Haku will do the same thing to Ren. But at least Ren got to see her mom for however long she's lived. My witch-like grandmother spat at me, told me to vanish off the face of this world. According to her, they'd never wanted to take me in. I was nothing but a burdensome leech that they wanted gone. Why? Why is it so cold? Why is my heart so cold? Every time someone tells me you're not wanted here, I could feel a thick, frigid layer of ice freezing over top my heart. The world I live in is so very cold. I hated my divination training. No matter how much effort I spent, how much I studied, there were never any signs of improvement. I wasn't cut out for it, and I hated it, plain and simple. No matter how hard I tried, I would never have talent for it. I would never come to like it. Even so, I would sit and study those incomprehensible ink writings day after day, enduring the verbal lashings from my grandmothers all the while. All I wanted was for them to accept me. All I wanted was a home, a place where I could live and be wanted.
どうしてこんな簡単なことも覚えられないんだお前は。これくらいのことあの子は教えればすぐに覚えてしまったというのに。
Well, don't worry, Haku. You did find that place. You know, you found a place to be wanted, and now you're throwing it all away because of quote unquote malevolent god that might destroy the world if you rebel against him. But I don't know, because the only story I've ever heard of the world getting destroyed by this god is through ancestors that somehow survived after they rebelled against God. But all they ever did was bring up my mother again and again and again.
本当に信じられないよ。どうしてお前はこんなにも不出来なんだろうね。
All it took was the slightest of mistakes, and they were screaming and shouting at me. You don't belong here. Give us your mother back, and so on and so forth. I despised it. I despised it all.
お前みたいな何も取り柄のない出来の悪い子は初めて見た。どうしてお前みたいなのがこの世に生まれてきたのか。それが不思議でならないよ。
It was cold. It was unbearably cold. Their words pierced through my heart like needles. I couldn't stand this place anymore. I wanted to leave, go somewhere far away, and live on my own as soon as I possibly could. My only way out, I soon realized, was to learn the art of divination as quickly as possible, no matter how much I loathed it. It was my only option to earn a living, even though it was something I detested, even though it was something I would never truly love doing. Even so, it became the sole thing sustaining my will to live, so that I could someday live alone, that I could someday live without having to rely on others. Every time they raised their fists in a fit of rage against me, every time their vile insults struck through me, my heart was set on one thing alone. You know what strikes me as odd? Alright, think about it like this. You know that you live in this town of people, and every year someone is forced to be sacrificed, right? Now, you, being a rational adult, realize that you might become the next person to be sacrificed, and of course you wouldn't want to leave your child in a world where they could not only potentially be sacrificed as well, but if you get sacrificed, they would have to live in a world without a parent. So eventually, through rational adults thinking rational things, like I said before, the world would just come to an end eventually. So I ask again, what's the point? Because, okay, listen, I said it before. I didn't have an articulate enough argument for it. It just took now. My heart was set on one thing alone. I think I already said that. Getting out of here as quickly as I could, as quickly as I possibly could. A few years passed, and then on one fateful day, by my lack of ability and talent, I'd managed to master a small number of divination techniques. I was thus put in charge of a simple ceremony being held in the next town over. However, the day came and I had committed an awful blunder. The ceremony was supposed to be so simple. All I had to do was speak a simple few pre-written words to allow the soul of this deceased person to travel safely and peacefully to the afterlife. And yet I'd failed my job miserably. I'd misspoken the words and fumbled around the order. As a result, the nobleman raised his fist against me in vitriol. My son will be stuck wandering this world for the rest of his life, all thanks to you. You're the reason he'll never be able to rest in peace now, he cried. Okay, you're coping a bit, but sure. All of those who had come to attend the ceremony glared at me with contempt in their eyes. Okay, they're all coping, but sure. Needless to say, I did not receive the payment that I was supposed to.
帰ったらまたどやされる。
I envisioned my grandmother's witch-like face as she berated me and insulted me. I could see nothing but that upon closing my eyelids. As loath as I was to do so, I had no choice but to return home. Why is it my job to send away the souls of the dead? I'm a diviner, I asked myself. Shouldn't that be the job of an undertaker? The wrestler? I mean, never mind. I fretted endlessly as I grumbled and complained to myself. It was pointless, futile, senseless. I knew that. But apart from that,
お腹空いたな。
I hadn't eaten in 2 whole days. My grandmother had decided to stop feeding me until I'd mastered the technique which I was learning at the time. Her word was law. That was what she'd promised me. I was forced to sit and watch from afar as my mother served delicious-looking food to my sisters and the rest of my family, who sat around the table with delightful smiles spread across their faces. I'd performed well at the ceremony today. Perhaps I would have been given something to eat. That was in part why I was so eager to do it. But all I did was make a fool of myself. It was a disaster. It was incomprehensible. I received no reward for my efforts. Why is this world so cruel? All my mistakes during the ceremony, more than likely due to hunger. I just knew it. That had to be it. No, I shouldn't do this. I'd never improve if I constantly blame outside factors instead of myself. Outside factors being hunger. Right, because being forced to starve is definitely going to help your mental state and improve on improve your abilities. It's definitely your fault that you failed to recite the lines, and not because you were distracted by how hungry you were, because you were forced to not eat for 2 days. Well, that was something I can worry about much later.
お腹空いたよ。
Hunger does have a negative effect on my mental and physical health, it's true. Effect on your mental and physical health. But ever after arriving home, there'd be nothing there for me to eat. I sighed. Why didn't I have the courage to run away from that place? It clearly only brings me suffering and misfortune. Yeah, I know either. I thought you hated that place. I had nothing to lose. I didn't. But I was scared. Yeah, you've been scared your entire life. Would I really be able to survive on my own? I'd been studying and practicing my divination for the sole purpose of leaving that house as soon as I could and starting an independent life. But I was small and young, and I could never do anything to my grandmother's satisfaction. Would I really be able to survive on my own without relying on others? Well, considering that you've been starved, I don't think you're relying on them either. I had flubbed even the simplest of ceremonies. In fact, my life up until this point could be defined as a collection of countless shameful failures. I was fearful. I was fretful, irate, angry, alone and miserable. Those cold, spiteful words that my grandmothers always shouted at me. They stuck and clung to my heart like a thick and impermeable tar.
一人で強く生きていく。無理だよ。そんなのは無理。
Yeah, but it's better than going back. I loathed myself for it. I cursed my ineptitude.
お腹空いたよ。お母さん。
I departed from the next town over on one of the buses reserved for spirits, invisible to normal humans. But once I'd sat down on the old bench at the bus stop, I found myself unable to move. Tiny droplets of cold rain began to fall upon the roof of the old bus shelter. Patter, 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 patter. There is no such thing as happiness in this cold, cruel world. The din of the rain almost seemed to transform into a whisper near my ear that spoke thusly.
食べる?
All of a sudden, I heard a voice. Shigure. It was close enough for me to feel the person's breath on my skin. I don't know why you're trying to hide his face. We clearly know who it is. I look over and discover that a young human boy whom I didn't recognize was sitting next to me.
僕の昼ご飯の残りで悪いけど、食べない?
He may be a young human boy, but he's clearly gone through puberty already. That's why they didn't change the voice actor.
どうして？
Why was there a human here? I instantly tensed up and put myself on guard. In my town, contact with humans was strictly forbidden. It was ingrained into our minds from an early age that all humans were vile, dirty creatures without exception. I mean, to be fair, that point was proven in the Fiend's backstory, in the Fiend's flashback, so, you know, half right. We were never to touch them or speak to them.
昼食にパンを持ってきたんだけど、急にお腹の調子が悪くなってしまって。袋は開いてるけど、口はつけていないから。よかったら食べてくれないかな。そしたら僕も嬉しいから。食べ物を無駄にしなくて済むし。
Oops. Something. Eat bread. Question mark man. I mean boy. The human boy produced something from his bag and held it out to me. It looked so delicious and smelled so wonderful. Soggy bread. However, I noticed that he was holding it at a slight angle away from where I sat.
もし食べてくれるなら、受け取ってくれたら嬉しいんだけどな。
こいつ目が見えないの？
Both of his eyes were closed shut, and he had a long, slim cane situated next to him. So it isn't Shigure. I was wondering. It just doesn't help that his voice actor is the same.
ごめんね。やっぱり残り物なんて嫌だったかな。
You know, word of advice: maybe you shouldn't use voice actors for important roles unless Shigure is actually blind and the glasses aren't an aesthetic choice. The most fundamental rule of the town was to avoid any and all contact with humans. As if I broke that by some chance, our world as I knew it would cease to exist. Excuse me? Okay, listen. The superstition you're believing now is far-fetched, but I know you're a child, but listen, but like, what? Even though there was no conclusive evidence that such a thing would happen, the rule was still one that each of us had to abide by. But in spite of that, I accepted the sweet bread that the boy had offered me. It smelled so wonderful. My hunger was becoming unbearable at this point. Still.
まずい。
This was the first time I'd tried human food, and it tasted repulsive. It smelled so good, yet the taste was anything but. I felt tricked. It was soggy bread.
雨いつ止むんだろうね。
I noticed the boy's nose twitch.
夕立か。今日は一日と晴れてて、天気予報で言ってたのかな。
The smile never faded.
何がそんなにおかしいんだこいつは。
He was beaming. Nothing was happening, yet he smiled like he was having the time of his life. To me, it was silly. I couldn't even begin to understand it. The world was a cold and unforgiving place. There was not a single thing in it worth smiling over. Yet, there was this boy who, in this cruel world I lived in, somehow continued to smile. How, I thought. How was he able to smile like that?
困ったな。傘は持ってきてないし。どうしようか。
The smile was so broad, in such an evident contrast to the distress of in his words. Something about him just rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like him.
すぐに止む。
But for some reason, even though I wanted nothing to do with this odd human boy and his funny attitude, even though I hadn't forgotten about my town's rules, even so, I wanted to try talking with him a bit. I couldn't stifle that desire. What allowed him to smile so optimistically? Whatever it was, I really wanted him to tell me.
これはただの夕立。雨はすぐ止む。
すぐ？
わかるんだ。
わかるってどうして？
いいから、黙って待ってればいいんだよ。
Damn, she was right. After a short while, the rain came to a complete stop.
ほら、言った通りだっただろ。
The dazzling sun peeked through a parting in the clouds. Whether divination. Despite being talentless at all other forms of divination, this was one that I actually had a knack for. Granted, it was also the most basic technique of them all. Anyhow, the rain had stopped and the sun was slowly returning to the sky as the clouds parted.
本当だ。雨の音がしなくなった。太陽の匂いがする。
How do you smell the sun? His face lit up with glee.
すごいな君。どうしてわかったんだ？
あ、すごい？
天気予報なんか嘘ばっかりだ。こんなことがわかるなんて不思議だな。羨ましいな。
Something to be proud of. He was jealous even. Nobody had ever praised me like this.
別にすごくない。
そうかな。
そうなんだよ。これくらいのことは誰でもできるんだ。お世辞はいらない。
お世辞？そんなことはないって。君は誰にでもできるって言うけど、少なくとも僕にはこんなことできない。だから本当にすごいと思うよ。君は将来天気予報士になったらいいんじゃないかな。そしたらきっと誰からも喜ばれるよ。
喜ばれる？私が？
As much as a weather reporter can make people happy.
きっと。
Okay, that's a bit.
きっとね。
That was a bit more flattering, but I'll pass. I'll pass it. And then smiled at me. Upon seeing that, my heart began to stir. Ba-dump, ba-dump, ba-dump. I felt so terribly restless. It was such a mysterious feeling, one that I'd never experienced before. But I knew it was one that I could not and must not embrace. Despite that, oddly enough, it was a nice feeling, a warm feeling, a pleasant feeling even. There was just one problem, however. One teensy little problem. I discovered that I was now unable to look at this boy in the face. I averted my eyes like he was the sun.
これくらい。
何？
これくらいのわずかな変化では、本当は天気占いをする必要もないんだ。
天気占い？
うん。この程度の短い間の天気の異変なら、動物たちは直感で雨が通り過ぎるのを知ることができる。空気の変化とか雲の色とかを見るだけで、何も特別な技術も知識も必要ないんだ。例えば占いだとかなんだとかはね。こういうことが直感でわからないのは多分人間だけだ。
人間だけ？
I held my tongue, realizing my grave mistake.
まずい。どうしよう。
The anxiety set in, and I felt a cold, unpleasant sweat begin to form on my forehead.
私の正体がバレてしまったかもしれない。
Perhaps I let my elation get the better of me. I'm normally a person of few words, but I had held a casual conversation with someone in what felt like ages after all. Well, ages is a bit of exaggeration considering you've never held a conversation with anyone. It might have been why I suddenly became a bit loquacious. I don't know how to pronounce it. I spat out words before my mind even had time to consider what I was saying. Understatement, I meant, not exaggeration. Maybe that was why I started boasting about how easy weather divination was, despite knowing how much of a struggle it was for me to master it. I was certainly overcome with embarrassment, but there was a more pressing issue at hand. I'd heard that all humans were terrified of non-human creatures, such as myself, which is why they indiscriminately killed any of our kind that they laid sight upon. Well, fortunately for you, this guy is blind, so he can't lay sight upon you. This is why my grandmother and all the other townsfolk despised and feared the humans, why they avoided contact and stayed far, far away. Therefore, I'd committed a grave sin, a grave mistake, by revealing my identity to this human boy. according to my town's long-held rules, at the very least.
どうしよう。私が人ではないことがバレてしまったかもしれない。
I truly done it. Truly done it now. What scared me the most wasn't the realization that he now might attempt to kill me, nor was it the fact that I had broken my town's rules. More than either of those things, there's the possibility that this human boy might end up hating me. How bizarre was that? I was totally aghast at myself and my stupidity, but it did nothing to quell my anxieties.
どうしよう。どうしよう。もう、この子は私と話をしてくれないかもしれない。
I felt a sharp grating pain in my chest.
やっと見つけた話し相手だったのに、私に笑顔の秘密を教えてくれたかもしれないのに、それなのに、それなのに。
I shut my eyes, cradled my face in my hands, and for some reason, I then began to cry.
これからまた、ずっと私は一人。
World truly is filled with nothing but pain and suffering. Why'd I ever thought otherwise?
僕はレンヤ。君の名前は？
I opened my eyes and looked up. That's not Shigure. There was a boy smiling, grinning joyfully from ear to ear, his face as bright as the sun itself. Like, once again, why are you using an important character's voice actor to voice a no-name character? Especially when the ages match up and the outfits. The only difference is that Renya's blind. And Shigure's not as blind.
私は人ではないぞ。
And also potentially from Earth. But, you know, he could have been from the merchant town. That's why he has such a big connection to it. Again. Oh, how I wished I could keep my mouth from blabbering on so much.
私はお前たちが怖がってる人外なんだぞ。
Why, oh why? Mistake after mistake, again and again. I should have just kept my mouth shut. That way, he never would have had to realize what I was, and he would have kept talking. But for some reason, I felt compelled to be honest with this boy.
そうなんだ。
However, the boy seemed entirely unfazed. Not even a trace of shock on his face. All he did was keep smiling. Smile wholly devoid of any fear or contempt. He reacted in no particular way to what I had just said. His calmness seemed to imply that, to him, it was simply an extension of my introduction.
そういえば昔ばあちゃんが言ってたっけな。この近くには狐の村があるんだって。もしかして君は狐さんなのかな？
そうだ。でも少し違う。
But you are a fox.
違う？
私らは動物とは違う。言ってみれば人型の妖怪だ。
So you're a ghost.
ふーん。
怖くはないのか？
どうして？
どうしてって。
僕は目が見えない。だから君が人間だろうとそうじゃなかろうと、こうして話ができれば、そんなものはあまり関係がない。どっちだって 同じようなもんなんだよ。
The boy then grinned.
意思の疎通が叶えば何だって同じ。
なんだよそれは。
Whatever profound message he thought was laced in his words, it came across as nothing but laughable to me. But strange as it was, whenever I looked at the boy smile, I found myself feeling warm.
おかしなやつだな、お前は。
Says the fox.
そうかな。
ああ、そうだよ。
Little by little, I could feel it. The thick layer of ice covering my heart was beginning to thaw.
ハクだ。
吐く？
私の名前だ。白と書いてハク。
いい名前だね。
Get it? Because her hair's white. I thanked him in my heart for saying that. Her name was the sole thing my mother had left me.
よろしくね、ハク。これからも仲良くしてくれたら嬉しいよ。
ああ。あともう一つ。
うん。
この堅苦しい喋り方、そろそろやめてもいいかな。
え？
人でないものは人間相手にはこういう感じで尊大に喋るもんだっていう先入観が。
He suddenly burst into laughter.
なんだよ。
I pursed my lips and snarled at him.
ごめんごめん。君はなんだかとても面白いな。君と話してると飽きないよ。
そうかな。
うん、そうなんだよ。
The boy's cheerfulness seemed to be contagious. Slowly and steadily, my face loosened and my lips curled. It finally brought a smile to my face.
ハク、改めてこれからもずっとよろしくね。僕は毎日ここに来るからね。
私も毎日ここに通うよ。
That day was the start of my friendship with Renya. The next day he died. He got fox cooties and died of disease. I opened my eyes. The wide scarlet moon stretches across my field of view, looking almost like an overripe fruit. I feel like I was dreaming. What time is it? After raising my body upright, I checked my pocket watch. Only 30 minutes. Wow, it feels like I've been asleep for much longer. Now that's how it is. I look around. Everybody else is still fast asleep. Kana happens to be groaning in her sleep. Did I wake them? I'm deliberating whether or not to. Suddenly I hear... Huh? That's what I'm saying. She talking in her sleep?
ちょっとユーモアさん、やめてくださいってば。
Not in front of sleeping Ren. What?
そんな恥ずかしいところばっかりいじくり回して。どうし
Thank God Ren is sleeping. What on earth is she dreaming about?
それ以上はもうダメなんですってば。
Yeah, thank God we didn't see Kana's dream, or else it would have become an arrogant. Oh, wait. Whatever, I should leave her be. People have the freedom to do whatever they want in their dreams to whoever they want. But I won't say I'm entirely comfortable with someone using my likeness to satisfy their desires in that way. Well, it's not your likeness. It's just you. I'm sleepy.
だらしないな。今起きたばかりなのに、早速そんな大あくびか？
I mean, yeah. I know. That's not out of the ordinary, especially if you haven't slept. If you've only slept for 30 minutes, you'd still be tired. What do I say to get her to understand? Well, whatever. The point is, I'm sleepy. I just feel terribly drowsy for some reason or another. Huh. This is weird. I'm way too tired. Something suddenly catches my eye. There, around the roots of the tree against which Haku sleeps. It's a ring of small white flowers.
おい、ユーマ、あれはまさか。
Yeah, they probably are. Those flowers are all too familiar to Shinku and I.
いいか、ユーマくん。旅の途中でどんなに眠くなったとしても、そこで仮眠を取ろうとか考えてはダメだ。
As if I was not as if I was about to question if Renya sounded like Shigure. Here he is in the flesh. Well, in the flashback. In the flashback. Never mind. Only now, halfway through our journey, do his words of warning come back to me.
見てごらん、この白い花を。これは虫寄り草、または夢見草といってね。この花の香りには強力な催眠作用があるんだ。それを一度嗅いでしまうと強烈な眠気に襲われる。
And that's why they were sleepy.
そして眠りの中で時に御霊と夢を共有することもある。わかるかい？それはとっても危険なことだ。どうして危険なのか。夢と心を重ねて御霊に同情を覚えてしまえば、それだけ別れが辛くなるからね。
Well, that doesn't apply here, you see. Even without the dream, we were already connected emotionally with Haku. I'm so stupid. Not allowed to sleep during the journey. Especially not if we're hit with a mysterious wave of drowsiness. I'd completely forgotten until it was too late. I was careless and naive. There's only so much I can chalk up to my poor memory. I stagger as I stand up and prepare to pluck the flowers from the ground. I have to get rid of these, otherwise I'll fall asleep again. I'll fall into a deep slumber, and I'll slip into Haku's dream once more. I know what dangers that might present, even if the only outcome is us sleeping for a while. With what little time we have remaining, that in and of itself would be a huge detriment to us. I'm sorry, I had to kill the flowers, but this has to be done.
いやもうエッチなんだから。
Hey, what are you kind of sleepwalking? Kind of in a sleepwalking. What? Jesus, I can't talk. In a sleepwalking stupor, is clinging to my leg. Ah. I fell and faceplant into the ground. Damn it. My vision blurs, as does my mind. I can't feel my consciousness. I can feel my consciousness fading away. Man, or completely leaving me once more.